This is BNN, the Bennington News Network.
Next question is for Donald. Looking back at the Select Board's activity over the last year, what would you consider the high point and the low point, and why?
I definitely think the leadership I mentioned that Tom has provided, I think in taking the Select Board into a little more proactive role. I think of the performance evaluations, the scorecards. It may not be all done, but I don't know of very many organizations that have been successful, that have been able to succeed without periodically checking, setting goals, checking, measuring those performance against those goals. I don't know that it's much more important things than you can do. And I applaud them for taking those first steps in terms of performance evaluation and in establishing the scorecard. The scorecard may not be totally complete. It may be rather short. There may be, like I think I heard, 4 or 5 points to get started. There probably should be 20, but you know, when you're just getting to first base, that's important. It's that first step to creating a management style and system that allows you to know how you're doing year to year. And you can always trim your sails, you can always readjust your goals. And you must do that because you cannot totally anticipate everything that's going to come up and everything that's going to work and everything that won't work. But if you're not managing the effort, you don't know where you are. You're sitting back and you're taking what comes. We need to be more proactive so that we are trying to gauge where we're going and we've got a chance of getting there. Don't get there on time, don't get exactly where you wanted to, at least you're making progress and you're adjusting as you go. But the alternative is to sit back and wait. Not a good choice.
I have sort of a hard time making judgments about high points and low points. Talking about low points I don't think is very positive. So I'm going to generalize a little bit on the high and think of, rather than low points, challenges. From a high point, I think that over the past year, the Select Board has dealt with some very difficult, even community divisive issues in a way that have given the community an opportunity to have a voice and have resulted in conclusions. And I think that as a community, if we can achieve dialogue and arrive at conclusions, then we've had a high point. I think, as I said, rather than talk about low points, I think the challenge continues to be, and maybe this goes back a little to the mayoral question, and I've suggested what I think in that regard. We have to continue to focus our efforts in areas that are that represent the greatest challenge to our community. And that is a very difficult task. If you think of a low point as being a point of difficulty, then we have our share of low points as a community because we have a great many challenges to face. And I think if we can do more, it would be to continue to expand the dialogue in dealing with those challenges. I won't take up my 2 minutes to start the list of those because I think we all know what they are. So that we can keep moving forward in a positive way and make progress.
What immediately came to my mind, it's echoing what Mike said. I'm just going to be a little bit more direct. I think the way the Select Board handled the Shire's development project and the work that they had to do to funnel the money through, whether you disagree with the project or agree with the development, I think they handled themselves with an incredible amount of integrity. It was a very, very difficult time for the Select Board members, and like I said, whether you agree or disagree, I think they were to be commended on how they handled that contentious issue.
Moving on to question number 4, which I believe...
Oh, did we get to answer?
Oh! to us.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
I forgot.
When the board organized in April, the board charged itself with, we can't do business as usual. We got sort of comfortable with that prior to the point of, we are at the cusp of change or no change, and no change is not going to work for the community. We decided to make take some steps, like Don mentioned, the scorecard and evaluations and stuff like that, which they don't have a real appeal, sex appeal, but it's so critical because that's the underpinnings of our operation. The fact of the matter is that I think our board has been great to work with. We've sort of gotten together. We have our disagreements, which are great because someone can say, Tom, you're trying to control something here and let me talk. Or I can say, you've already said that 5 times. But we come at the conclusion of it to almost a consensus. And I think with a select board, you almost need that when you have 7 people trying to deal with issues in difficult financial times. Resources are limited. So we decided, let's try to do things. Trying to do things, I think the downside is we haven't got to the finish line on many of the things that I thought we could get implemented this year. I'm by nature impatient. I'd like to see results. But frankly, I've learned that the process is not stymied by the board or the manager's office or the state. It's a combination of all of us. So it's really, if there's a downside, it's a work in progress. Thanks.
Well, I think I want to echo some of the things that have been said. First, I do think the economic development focus that the select board has had is really important. It's timely and it's imperative at this point. I think the business climate survey that was done is a very good first step, and I hope that we continue to do that and really hone in on the things that make this a good place to work. The scorecard for the select board, I think, is also an excellent idea, and I agree with Don. We'll keep building on that. I think the support that the select board has shown for the Bennington Economic Development Partners has been really critical in helping economic development entities come together, collaborate, look at where they overlap, and be much more effective and efficient in their work. I think overall the select board has become much more proactive, and that is absolutely a good thing. Also, I think the openness and transparency, I think to echo what Jean was saying, has been really great, and that we saw that in the fluoride debate as well. I think all of these things, it helps our community to have these conversations out loud and for everyone to feel safe to say what they think. I think the challenge that we continue to have is how do we invest in the downtown so that we particularly take care of what we need to do for the Putnam block to again be revitalized. I think a great step was bringing in representatives from St. Albans to talk to us about how they had accomplished that in their neck of the woods. And we will do it differently, but I think being able to hear from other communities and look at best practices is to our benefit.